Welcome to our 11th application of the course, where in this lecture and the next coming lecture we're going to be creating an image gallery application. Now how this is going to work, and basically what it's going to do is display a number of images in a row or in like a group of cell grids, and then the user can select one of these images and it will get pushed to a detail view where we can then display the image enlarged with more detail. So how this is going to work is going to be based off using a UI collection view. Now what these do is you can create a cell and it will populate it over and over and over again depending on how much data or information you've got. In our case it's going to be how many images you've got, and it basically creates what almost looks like a collage of cells within the collection view, and then we can click on one and take us to our detail view. Now on my desktop I have a folder here of the images we're going to be displaying. It's 6 cars altogether, so I'm going to quickly drag and drop those into my project and make sure I select destination as ticked and add to targets also ticked. Okay, so we got that into my project, and now we need to do some configurations to set up our collection view. Now we're going to be using our UI view controller as it is now, and we're going to scroll down until we can find our collection view. So I'm going to drag and drop it into our view controller here. And what I'm going to do is make it full screen so we can clearly see it. And to make it stand out a little bit more, what I'm going to do is select it and just change the background just simply to black so it's easier to see. Okay, so from within our collection view we have these collection cells, which at the moment, as you see, it's got no background, so I'll give it a white background, as you can see there. So each of the cells that's going to be displayed within it is going to be all from this one cell. So we're going to set up and configure this cell, and then it's going to equal our 6 images, so in terms it will then display 6 cells within our view. Now before we get that all set up, we're going to configure our collection view into our project. So we just need to select it, control click or right click and drag it up to our files owner. We need to select both the data source, and we do it again, and our delegate. Okay, we've selected it to that. We're going to click on our cell. We're then going to give our cell an identifier. This is so we can refer back to it within the code to make sure that we're using the right cell to display the images from within it. And I'm just going to name it simply cell. There we go. And that will also get rid of the error that was occurring in our project. It just basically to tell us that all the cells within it do need identifiers. Now to display an image within our kind of collection view cell here, we need to create a class so we can refer to it in the cell for an outlet. So what we're going to do is go over to our project. We're going to right click and go to new file, and we're going to select a Cocoa Touch class. Make sure it's a subclass of a UI collection view cell. That's what we want to link it to. I'm going to keep the name collection view cell there, as we don't need to change that. I'm going to next and create that into our project. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop it underneath our view controller there, and jump back into our main.storyboard, where we're going to select our cell and then go to the identity inspector and add in this new class to link it up to our cell. So it's called collection view cell, so make sure we add that in. And then what we're going to do is first we're going to select our collection view, and then we're going to pin it to the rest of our view. So we do that now. So we've added in the constraints, so when it resizes on different screen sizes, the collection view will resize with it. And the cells, they're just for the collection view itself, so we don't need to add any constraints to that itself. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is select our cell and just copy and paste it in so we can get a feel for what it'll look like with multiple cells within our screen. Now you see there, they kind of create this grid view. Some link to the side and some link to the top, and then there's an overall spacing within the middle. We can adjust this to kind of create it and display it for how we basically want to. So what we do is select our collection view here, and also what I'm going to do is bring up the assistant editor and make sure that it is on the preview section of our main.storyboard. This is so that it gives us a live preview to what it'll look like on a different size iPhone screen. Now already pre-selected here is the iPhone 3.5 inch, and you can see that this is basically the smallest one compared to the largest one, and how it looks on the 2 different screens. Whereas the large one can display 3 rows of our cells, this one can only display 2 in the row because of the size of our cell. So if we select our collection view here, and within the size inspector we're going to adjust our cells. So let's try 50. That looks pretty small, so let's go to 75 by 75. That creates a nice grid effect. We may increase it, so you can see as we increase it, the sizes change within our view. Let's set that to 90 and that also to 90. And what we're going to do now is add in some section insets. So if I increase it from the top, you can see that all the cells move down and create a padding around them. So I've set the padding at 5 there, and then from the left, I'll do the same. Set that to 5, so you can see now within both of the views, we've got this padding around. If I do from the right, also 5, and from the bottom, also 5, again, it creates that padding all the way around it, and it looks perfect. So you can see now that on the larger one, it's almost looking really good gridded style. And the same goes from the smaller one. Again, it's all gridded perfect. So you can play around with all these kind of views and kind of attributes here to get how you want it to look perfect on all different screen sizes and types. Okay, so now we've got that set up and we've got it gridded out to how we kind of want it to look like. We're going to close the assistant editor, and what we're going to do is get rid of all of these extra cells within the view, as we don't basically need them. So once we've got rid of all of them and return to our original one, when we populate the collection view with all our images, it will continue to create that effect. Okay, so now what we want to do is add an image view into our cell. So I'll place it in there. So I'll re-zero it to our cell. So our cell is basically 90 by 90. And I'll set that from the 0 there and then place that in. And what I'm going to do then is quickly add in some missing constraints. So again, it links it to that view and you won't budge or anything like that. Then I'm going to bring up our assistant editor and make sure that we're now selected on our collection view cell. This is so we can add our outlet from our image view here. Drag and drop it over. And you see the outlet is connected to an outlet as an action. The object's in our cell, but the type is of our UI image view. And we simply name it image view and connect that up. Okay. So now I'm going to close the assistant editor and we're going to jump into our viewcontroller.swift where we can configure the rest of the class to not only configure and display our collection view, but then to also display the images from within it. So first thing I'm going to do is just after our UI view controller, we need to add in our UI collection data source and UI collection view delegate to which we set our collection view within our view controller. So we do comma UI collection view data source, and again do another comma, and then we do UI collection view delegate, as we both link the collection view to it. So I'm going to quickly get that and build that there. Now we've got an error placed in, and this is because we don't have the function statements all set up correctly just yet. So before we do that, we're first going to create an array for our images. So we create our variable, and do space, call it array, colon, and that's going to be equal to our 2 brackets of our string. And after that, we make that equal our 2 brackets there. So we're not setting up our array yet. We're just creating it so it exists. And then we're going to populate it within our view did load. So we type out our array. And that's going to equal our 2 brackets here. And in between it, 2 quotation marks and a comma. Now in between these 2 quotation marks will be the name of our image file. So in my case, my images are called car1.jpg. All I need to do is simply copy that, even the comma. Oh, let me do that again. And then paste it in. So I've got 6 altogether. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then change what image it's displaying from car1 to car2, 3, 4, 5, and then finally 6. And then the last one there, we can just get rid of the comma at the end as we don't need it and add any more in. So that was how it worked. That's created the array and we placed all the images within the array. So we're then going to get our collection view to equal that and display 6 collection view cells with our images from within it. Okay, and now what we need to do is set up the number of items in our section and basically our cell for item at index path. And we do this by creating our function here of our collection view, and we need the one for cell, and we need the one for number of sections. If I just scroll down now, in item there, and with the highlighted section here, we're simply going to get it to return, and what we're going to get it to return is array.count. So the number of items in section depends on how many cells it's going to display. And if we equal that to our arrays.count, so it will count how many kind of images or kind of pieces of data are in our array and equal that to it, which in our case is going to be 6, so it will display 6 cells. We then create our second function statement, which is going to be our collection view cell for item at index path. So it's one there, cell for item at index path. And in this highlighted section here, what we're going to do is then configure our cell. So if I space this out, so we create our let and we call it cell, and that's going to equal our collection view dot DQ reusable cell. We need the one with the reuse identifier. Just add that in there. In this highlight section, we've got 2 brackets, and this is the name of the identifier we added to our collection cell, which all we simply did was add cell to it. Then for index path, we just type in index path, which is then linked back up to our function statement up here, and then we end that with the bracket there and do space as with an exclamation mark space our collection view cell, which is the name of the class we added to it. Okay. We've got that in. We then can refer to that cell, which we called cell. Then we can select the dot image view from within the cell, and then the dot image attribute of that cell. We're going to equal that to a UI image, and the UI image we equal it to is going to be named, and it's going to be named rather than a string for the file, but our array. We've got 2 brackets, index path dot row. We end that there with the 1 bracket at the end, and then we just get our return to simply equal to cell. So what's happened then, we've allocated it, and we've got our cell that we've added in, and we've got the image view from within it to equal our array indexPath.row. And what that means is it's getting our array, and the indexPath.row is whatever image is in the sequence for that cell. So if it's equaling the 3rd cell, it's going to equal the 3rd image in our array, and equal that into the image from within the cell. Okay. So we've got all that set up. If we now go to build and run, and we can then see how it displays our collection view in our image gallery style app. So you see, as it loads now, it's got our 6 images all placed in. Now if we had more images, that more than what the screen could handle, we had the ability to scroll up and down, which we've only got 6 in total. And you can see how they're currently being displayed. So what I'm going to do is simply copy our 6 images here. I'll do a comma, paste those in, and I'm pasting enough now that it's going to enable us inevitably to have to scroll to display the extra content from within the view. So as it loads up, there is more images than what our screen can handle, and automatically we get the scroll feature added into our application, as it's quite native to our UI collection view. So there we go. We can now have the ability to display all these images within a gallery within our application. But the problem we have now, and what we want to do, which we're going to talk about in the next lecture, which is part 2 of this collection view image gallery, is that we want to select one of these images and allow it to push to a detail view where we can then basically have this image blown up into full screen on our next view.